In the Field updates on Market Journal are supported by the Nebraska Corn Board. I always like to catch up with Extension Pipe pathologist Tamra Jackson-Ziems. She says just because the combines are hitting the fields, that doesn't mean it's time to let your guard down when it comes to crop diseases. Stalk rot and crown rot are still an issue across many fields in the Cornhusker state. As such, producers may want to keep a close eye on conditions as they're going through their fields this harvest season.
This time of year is the time of year when we start to talk more about stalk rot diseases, for instance, and we are seeing some stalk rot development and we're seeing some crown rot. And so if they've watched, and even from the road, you can sometimes see some of those plants are starting to die off early. And so you don't know what the cause is until you get out and look around a little bit. And so you really need to carefully use your pocket knife and cut down through the stalk, or dig up the root ball and cut down through the crown. And that'll tell you whether or not you've got stalk rot or crown rot, is if you look where that decay is and the discoloration. The big impact of that, of course, at this time of year, we start to worry about lodging and cannibalization of the stalk. And so if you have fields that maybe have more than 10 or 15% of the plants are affected, I would think about harvesting those fields first, or maybe even early if it's bad. And you'll know if the stalk integrity is impacted because you can use the push test, and you'd want to do that on 100 or 200 plants in parts of the field. And again, over 10 or 15%, it might be worth your time to harvest those early before they fall.
And while it might be too late in the season to be treating tar spot, it is making an aggressive push in many areas of Nebraska. With that in mind, it would be a good idea to report any infected areas in order to give extension educators a better grasp on how this disease is progressing throughout the state.
You know, tar spot has probably been at the forefront of our disease concerns. And to this point, you know, it's still mainly in that eastern third of the state. It is still moving though, and you know, we've got these cooler conditions that might be favorable, and we want to identify it where it has moved further west. And so you can go to the corn IPM pipe site to see where the most current distribution has been confirmed. In Nebraska in general this year, disease overall has been pretty light for tar spot, but if it's ever been confirmed in your area, it will redevelop. And so what's happened here in the last couple of weeks is we have seen tar spot redevelop and begin to spread again. Folks who are in extreme southeast Nebraska and in that tri-state area with Kansas and Missouri have experienced severe tar spot this year, and many of those fields have been sprayed multiple times. So they, you know, the weather conditions were a little different. They had some wetter weather in that area that we didn't get in much of the rest of the state. That really impacts this disease. We know it'll also be favored by irrigation once tar spot moves into more heavily irrigated fields. And so if people see those black spots on leaves, especially on green leaves, and you need help identifying it, we'd really like to know where you're finding it so we can update our maps. And so we'd like to let people know where it's at so they'll know what to expect next year and future years. Eventually, it might mean people need to consider fungicide applications and work with their seed company agronomists to position hybrids, maybe with better resistance packages for that disease.
Now, for any of your crop diseases you do detect, your local extension educator is always a great resource. You can also send samples in to the UNL Plant and Pest Diagnostic Clinic for testing. If you'd like more information on sending some of those samples in, along with this story, you can find both of those over on the Market Journal website.